Hey, goodness to you. And I always say goodness because I don't know whether you're checking this out in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening. But isn't it good to have the word good in front of whatever you're doing? I'm Sporty King, and I always come on a little early. My broadcast, if you're coming on in person and live, it starts at 1 o'clock. So we've got less than a minute, less than 4 minutes to go for the broadcast. But I always come on. Try to give you a little tech lesson. Come on early and allow Facebook to do what they call build the audience. So even if, for instance, you had on your thing, I want to be on when Sporty goes live. If I come on right at 1 o'clock, you may have forgotten. And you say, oh my God, that's right, he's on now. I got to close this out. So this way you get on a little 5 minutes early. You still may say that, but maybe this gives you that extra breath of time that could make a difference. So, and then also this is my interactive day. So I like to, where I'll be able to do my shout outs and talk to people as they come in. So even as we see people come in, I'm going to give them a shout out and welcome them. So thanks. Yeah. What we're doing, in case this is your first time, this is called Glue Wednesday. And I call it Glue Wednesday because so often people have called Wednesday Hump Day because, us old school people, we just did, you just either work Monday to Friday or you work the weekend. We didn't even acknowledge flex time back then, but there's always been flex time. So, so just because people like to say, well, Wednesday's Hump Day, that, the day before you got to get over. And with my word sensitivity and having fun with the English vocabulary too, by the way, there's nothing wrong with the word hump. But the Humpty Dance, in fact, I got a Humpty Dance. How much time we got? But I digress. All right, but the thing is, that's what I say, that we don't have to get over. What we have to do is keep it together. Because see, Wednesday is actually the middle of a traditional 7-day week, flex time or not, where it keeps the week beginning and the week end together. So it's the glue, and it puts me in my favorite position, a prayerful mode. And that's that prayerful mode that says GLUE, God's love undoes everything. So this is your first time on Glue Wednesday. That's where it comes from. And it doesn't mean that God's love undoes and, tears things apart. Remember, we got to watch the English language. Everything is about context, about where you put a word into the sentence that makes a difference. So we got less than 2 minutes for today's message. But undoes, in this case, doesn't mean that God undoes the good things that comes in your life, but it means that God will undo the bad things. And take care of that. So what's going on, Kevin? So let's get that in there. Kevin Thompson, thank you. First one on, there's your shout out. Thanks so much for this. Oh, Kevin, you see, look at God. You thank him for that's called paying it in advance, just like thanking in advance. Don't you know that's something we need to do? Is give thanks in advance for the message we're going to get. Why? Because as we choose our messengers carefully, we go looking for the message, and what you seek, you shall find. And so if you're looking for the right message and you've got the right person delivering it, then you're going to get your message, and you get to be thankful in advance. So thank you, Kevin. And what's going on is that I just talked to Macy today. She was laughing. Don't be nicknaming me when I got a nickname already. Oh, it's less than a minute for today's message. But yeah, Zet calls me Zoom. And then you know what? Here's Tony. It says Shirley on your screen right after Zet. She was cracking up laughing, telling me how much fun she had when we did Zet's party on Zoom, which is why Zet called me Zoom. And Tony said, that was the off the chain, the best time I had at an online party. And I was telling her, because Tony was out there dancing outside, and she had, her grayish white hair, and she had on the white outfit. And so the silhouette against the sky. You know what? There's so many things that we can spend time being thankful for that I just don't have the time to stay negative, And notice I said stay, because I'm not going to say that I don't get negative. We all dip. Every emotion is legitimate, and you should end up sometime being negative. You should be positive. You should be angry. You should be sad. These emotions come and go. The key is, what are you going to do with that emotion? So let's get a couple of more shout outs before we get today's message, because they go my cuz, Denise King. We just decided we cousins in Chicago. And thank you for taking care of those senior citizens, or as we call them, seasoned citizens. Thank you. Amen. God bless. And Roger Carroll, always great to have you back on the broadcast. Because you were one of the main co-authors when I was doing the Glue Alphabet series, or what we call it, the Gas series. So here's what we're going to do today, because I'm moving forward from that. So what I want to do is first say to you, who we got there? Oh, what's up, D? We got the house coming in now. Speaking of Tony, talking about how much she enjoyed Zet's party, because she said, "Well, how'd y'all get the music in?" I said, "Well, Lady D had it, funneled right in through the speakers and through the computers and see, that's the thing, y'all. All of us are an important piece of the puzzle. Start talking about what you do, sharing how you do what, and that's what keeps us all connected and together. And that's the beautiful thing. We're connected and together even in what people call the bad times. But the people who call it the bad times, remember, you can go negative for a moment, just don't stay there. The bad time is nothing more than a good time that God hasn't shown you yet. And so sometimes it's just a setup for what it's going to be. And so we got a lot of shout outs there. What's going on, Daphne? Another Chicago in there with me. And greetings to friends. And that's the thing too, which is what I love about our broadcast, is that we become friends and family right on the screen. And that's part of what's going on in our lives now, y'all. Don't get mad at the future, because it's the present. It's here. We have to become friends on the screen now. We are friends by association more so than we've ever been before. See, it's more obvious now, whereas before we just kind of took that for granted. But now we're starting to see it. And that's part of what today's message. See, you can't make this stuff up. That's part of today's message, is that there's nothing new under the sun. So I'm going to give that last shout out to Vic before I go and get us going on with today's message. But I'm definitely going to come back to this, because I like to see that. Yeah, you are the king. Why? Because I serve the king. I am the king because I am a child of God, and I am a child of the king. Once you start to recognize, like they say, you know who your father is, why would you play low? Why would you play yourself cheap when you have access to all the power in the world, to the person that does all things work for the good of God? So that's what I'm talking about. All right. So, and again, one more, let Tony get her hi to Daphne in there, because that's a new friendship that they just made. So that's what it's all about. Amen. Amen. Ooh, y'all have got me doing all of these. I may never get to the message. But yes, no, and yes, because guess what? We never deviate from the message. And even as some of us start to age, well, even as some of us continue to age, you've already started it. One of the things with Denise, my cousin Denise, I used to always say when I spoke at 5 senior citizen centers a month. And when I was in Chicago, it was called the Golden Brick Road, was my program. And we always started out, I'd say to my seasoned people, I said, look, don't let people tell you that you're getting senile. Tell them that you're exercising your right to forget. Exercising your right to forget. As we age, as the aging process, which is a part of God's gift, comes upon us. Come on, y'all. We got so much stuff. You've learned so much stuff in your life. You can't remember it all. So why would you beat yourself down when something gets pushed out because something new that you learned? Remember, even computers lose memory. So we have to forget some stuff. And then what happens, though, is that when we forget, we fall into what other people are saying. Oh, you're getting old and senile. And then we get upset with ourselves about what we can't remember. Excuse me. And we're so busy fighting ourselves, stupid me, I can't remember, that we're not relaxing and letting the thing come back to us. Because now what's going on in your mind is the fight about what you can't remember. And so you have now convinced yourself and your mind, I can't remember. I can't. And that's what you keep saying. And just as I say that, who comes on but my home sister, Jackie, who knows I got the t-shirt that she has, and it says faith, feeling as if there's hope, and reminding us that the only thing you can't do is give up. So that's what you have to do. Don't stop telling yourself what you can't do. I can't remember. I can't remember. No, 5 minutes. I don't remember. Next. Move on. Move on. See, we say it until it's time for us to do it. And again, you can't make this stuff up. It's what our message is about, because I'm gonna be talking about quitting. So before I get into that, I'm not gonna do some shout outs for a while, because I want to get us some leeway, some feet into the message first. Okay, so here we go. Now, the Bible I read is called the Touch Point Living Bible. And what it does is it gives modern day analogies to scripture so that you can have a better chance of understanding what you're reading. Because even in the Bible, and I just thought, I think it's Elijah or Elisha, one of them, but he says he's walking and the eunuch is reading the scrolls, and he says, do you know what you're reading? The guy says, no. Can you interpret it for me? He says, yes. And he gets in and he starts reading. If you don't know what you're reading, then you can't understand what you're reading. And if you don't understand what you're reading, then you can't share it. And if you can't share it, then guess what? We can't grow, because growth is about connecting and sharing. So this is what the Touch Point Bible does for me, as at the beginning of each book of the Bible, it actually gives a story. So that as you're reading the Bible, you'll find out, oh, this is what that book is about. Because check it out. I'm getting to read to you from the book of Ecclesiastes. Now, who knows what the book of Ecclesiastes is about? Crickets. I'm not going to really give you enough time to figure it out, because some may know the answer. But here's what it is. Let me tell you. Here's what it says to introduce us to the book of Ecclesiastes, which changes the whole way that I read the book. Toward the end of his life, a famous person is interviewed. The first question asked is, you've lived a full life. What would you like to tell everyone watching and listening tonight? The audience leans forward, waiting for a profound response, some helpful words that could make their lives as successful as this person's. The famous person blurts out, life is meaningless, utterly meaningless. The book of Ecclesiastes begins in just this way. King Solomon, the most famous person of his day, is interviewing himself, engaging in self-analysis. How would I portray life to others, he asked himself. Meaningless is his reply, empty, hollow, without significance. What makes Solomon's words even more surprising and perplexing is that he is known as the wisest man who ever lived, and also possibly the richest. Solomon had it all. It is not actually until the end of the book that we realize that he started the book this way to get our attention. Isn't that what headlines do? Solomon did have it all. He just didn't realize it until his closing days. Life is short. But after he didn't realize it until his closing days, after he had made a real mess of his life. Before we make any more of a mess of our lives, Solomon is trying to show us the futility of life without God. Solomon looked at life as one grand experiment, and in the end, he concluded the experiment had failed. The relationships he developed apart from God were disappointing. The business ventures he explored apart from God brought no real joy or satisfaction. The music, the gardens, the arts, what was the point if they could not be seen as a gift from the eternal God who loves us? All of this dawned on Solomon, but almost too late. Everything he tried apart from God was either disastrous or meaningless. He couldn't take another dead end. Now, having tried virtually, and that's not virtual as in virtual meetings, now having tried virtually everything his heart desired, he returned to the one true desire of his heart, a relationship with God himself. He finally realized that God is the only hope for meaning and an eternal future. If only he had realized this sooner. If only he could prevent this heartache in others. Fear God and obey his commands is Solomon's final plea. We can almost sense Solomon's wistfulness as he says this, wishing above all else that he had had the ordinary common sense to follow this guidance throughout his own life. Okay? So do you see how we are, so many of us, so much like Solomon? And so since, see, we have the Bible to look at that and get that story, he didn't get that explanation. And that's why I want to say to you, recognize that since so many of us are familiar with Ecclesiastes 1:9, where King Solomon says, history merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. There is nothing new under the sun. Nothing under the sun is truly new. It's written differently in my Bible. I decided to reach back to my 2017 Glue broadcast message that feeds how many are rethinking what work means to them, how they are valued, and how they spend their time. Now, even back then, many frowned upon other people's decision to quit. And even back then, I saw it as a positive gift of self-awareness and the blessing to quit, Quit, quench your understanding that it was time to redirect your path. Quench your understanding that it's time to redirect your path. And I used it being time to leave a job or a relationship as what we needed or need to see in our lives. You see, leaving does not make you a quitter. You saw the fact in the opening of this broadcast that over 4 million people didn't go back to quit their jobs in April, according to the U.S. Department of Labor. All right. Oh, man, I got to stop and give a shout out to one of my little brothers. What's up going on, Fred? All them fists and claps because he knows we were fighting and clapping at the Boys and Girls Club in Chicago. And that was such a blessing to me to see how this young man has grown up to be a young man. Okay. One of my ace students in my public speaking class. These are the types of flashbacks that make us recognize there's nothing new under the sun. See, that's what a legacy is all about. We were together at the Boys and Girls Club of Chicago, Dr. Martin Luther King Center. And there was a legacy that had to do with Martin Luther King of what we were doing to help bring up, invest our lives into our young people and bring them up. And now Fred is one of the people that turned that over, and he did the same thing. Once he got old enough, he became a counselor and did some of his volunteer time at the center. So thank you. Amen. Okay. Love you, Coach. You know it. But let's get back to that, right? Leaving. Oh, go on, Vic. MLK. Yeah, rest in peace. But recognition is passion. So you have to recognize that Dr. King, so many people get caught up in the turn the other cheek, and they don't realize that revolutionary in process, revolutionary in the past. Those are RIPs for Dr. King as well. He was a revolutionary. He was talking about things that had not been accepted yet. You know, he was saying Black Lives Matters when Black lives could be easily squashed out. And so, again, we have to look at what's going on in our lives and recognize, as Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. There is nothing new under the sun. So leaving does not make you a quitter. In fact, too many people wait for negativity to become the dominant aura so that they can have a gripe about a separation. All right, a separation that wasn't working for either party in a professional or personal relationship. And that's a rare general statement that you hear me make. You know, when I say, oh, no, it didn't work for anybody. I don't like to make general statements. I like to make it individual statements, as I know that not every situation is cut and dry. However, there's always an element of knowing yourself well enough that may have shown the signs of separation much sooner. See, I'm still in my 2017 message, but every now and then bring it forth to 2021, because this is what some people have allowed the pandemic to do. Back to 2017. If you're taking deep sighs every day to force yourself to get up and go to work, you're also doing one of two things. One, you're showing signs of that not wanting to be there in your just my job performance, because that's how you're performing. Yeah, oh, it's just a job. I don't really want to be there. You're showing it. And it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of how you don't really need to be there. So that's one of the things that you could be doing when you decide to get into, I got to go here again. I got to be at this job. Number two, you could be making yourself sick with bitterness for your surroundings, okay? Which will actually lead back to number one, where you're showing signs of not wanting to be there, because you could be making yourself physically sick. And especially these days, mentally sick. And God bless, stop me for a second to just thank our athletes who are not just right now in the Olympics. God, it's just not stopping, is it? Since this pandemic hit, or actually even before the pandemic, but especially since it hit, a young athlete, because Colin Kaepernick was older when he first did the knee thing, and everybody got all up in the panties all in a bunch over that. But the way our young people are in their 20s, these professional athletes who have been talking about what's been going on with social and injustice and justice and what's going on, and how they are putting their lives on the line now in terms of, hey, I'm not worried about the money, I'm worried about life, because that's what we're talking about right here in this message. All right, that's what we're talking about right here in this message. So even as Simone Biles makes history by deciding not to make history, do you have to really understand how God is in the mix? How he's choosing people. In the Bible, you see a whole bunch of people, and now I'm going to have to find that. I'm gonna do a broadcast on it another time, and where it talks about, Gideon said, but I'm the lowest, and David didn't think he was the one that should be chosen out of his brothers. Everybody who thought they couldn't be used by God was used at the appropriate time. At the appropriate time. So I digress because it's about progress. So I'm so glad to see our athletes taking that stand. What are you doing? Because you're an athlete too. You're number one in your category. Your category should be being who you are. All right. But so we're working ourselves up. So when you do those two things, by the way, you're showing the signs of not wanting to be there and you're getting yourself sick. You're working yourself up for the self-fulfilling prophecy of needing to find another job while waiting for them to force your move, so that you can be in position to badmouth their inconsideration, impersonal, energy-sucking tactics where they just wanted to make money off of you. Yeah, it was them. They wanted to do this. No, it ain't about them, y'all. It ain't about them, there, and they. It's about me, myself, and I. Take a breath. Take a breath. What you saying? Boom. I always said, I know God has a purpose for me. And I clicked on that because, again, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, we say it. Man, we got to believe that. Because what's the word Jackie used? Jackie, the word that's in there, it's not the God has a purpose for me. That's not what Jackie just wrote. That's not what we need to be looking at and focus. Yeah, Jackie. No, you know what we need to look at? The second word. Always. Always, y'all. God is not good a whole lot of the times. Many of the times. God is always good. He's good all the time. So he always has a purpose for your life. And part of your purpose is to sit back and watch and see what the purpose is. Sit back and, even as Moses said to them, watch and see. Sit back and see what God has going on in your life for you. So, that's the key. And a lot of times we get upset at the job. So this is back in 2017. We're getting upset at the job because they are inconsiderate, impersonal, energy-sucking tactics where they just want to make money off of me. But you know what? As an entrepreneur, I actually now have a better understanding of that company scenario, because I learned the cost of a sheet of paper or a paper clip. See, when I was working at a company, yeah, I'm going to take some paper home. Yeah, I'm going to take a box of paper clips. Yeah. See, hey, what they got it. I didn't learn until I became an entrepreneur what that piece of why somebody got suspended and then fired for stealing from the company. Man, they got enough. Why did they get enough? I found that out. And I'm not justifying it, by the way, as I'll say it as I move forward. Let me not get ahead of myself. But I learned as an entrepreneur the cost of a sheet of paper or a pen. And so for companies to be, here's the formula. For companies to be able to pay employees, they have to stay in business. Duh. But let me not spend time justifying a bad work environment, because that's their responsibility too. They've got to make sure it's a good work environment for you. But it's also a reflection of the people that you work with, the work environment, which is usually the real issue of discontent. Your real issue of discontent in your work environment is often the people who you work with. P.S. They are a reflection of who you are. So my position is always that you spend as little time as possible complaining about a situation that you can control. See, if you're in a job that you don't like, get out. That's something that you can control. Get out. And so, stop complaining about it. Oh man, you know what? I'm in a situation that I don't like. But as Jackie said, God has always got a purpose for my life. So what is this situation? I just saw a play with one of my favorite books in the Bible, the story of Queen Esther. And we know, and P.S., by the way, I'm the same way that I'm about to say. I don't read the Bible. I don't quote the Bible. I read the Bible. So I'm not the person, and John 17, no. Once I learn something about it, I like to share it. And a lot of us know the story of Queen Esther because we know the line, just like we knew the line that we know what Solomon said, it nothing new under the sun. The book of Ecclesiastes. We didn't know, that was Solomon. But do you know the line? Perhaps God put you here for such a time as this. Perhaps God put you here for such a time as this. That was Queen Esther. And I just saw that play last week while I was visiting one of my sisters in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And that's what I'm saying is that you don't know why you're here, but you are here for why. So stop complaining. You got to sit back and say, okay, what is the situation? What can I control about this situation? That's what I want. I don't want you to complain. I want you to just check it out and spend that time coming up with your positive solutions. Let me see what Vic says here. 8 years at the American Bible Society connecting me to God. I understand better now, much better. And I decided to stop and take a breath there for, again, a couple of reasons. Yeah, I see things differently. The first thing I see is the first word, which is the number 8. 8. What's 8? Most of us know what the 8 is. And because there's a time delay in the broadcast and my questions, I'm not going to worry about making this a big test on you. And if you're watching the video, don't worry about it. You could also always put stuff in the thread. But what is an 8? You know what? Go on and put that in the video. Put that in the thread. What does the number 8 mean? Or what's an 8 to you? Yeah, let me give you a couple of seconds to get that in there. I like that. Thank you, Vic. See, we don't plan this stuff, but what we do is we plant it, and it makes the understanding even better. Makes it even better. So I'm going to go on and roll with the 8, and then we'll see if it comes up in the tape delay, broadcast delay. But the 8 is the number for new beginnings. See, most of us know 7. 7 is the number of completion, and on the 7th day, God rested. 8 is the number for new beginnings. 8 is the number of people that were on the ark with Noah, besides him and his wife. It was his 4 sons and their wives. So 8 is the number for new beginnings. And so 8 years at the American Bible Society, Vic said, connected him to God, and you could understand him better. Why? Because connecting to God is a new beginning. That's why they call when you get baptized, what is it called? You're giving your life to God. But what's the other word? What do we call it? Born again. Born again. See, okay, excellent, right? And so that's the thing. So your new beginning is understanding God, not just better, but much better, much better. And that's it. Yeah, excellent. New beginnings. And so as you start to understand what God is doing in your life, now you can spend very little time complaining about the situation, because you can't control certain parts of it. So now you can start, instead of complaining about the situation, confirming the blessing and the path. Okay. So now, see, the tape delay is going to come in, and I want to acknowledge that too. It reminds me that it's my birthday month. Right, August 8th. Yeah, that's it. See, and this again, y'all. Remember we talked about don't let anybody tell you you're senile, you're exercising your right to forget. Look at all of these creative thoughts. When you think about how your mind, see, the number 8 took Shirley, and that's Tony, but Shirley, it took her to the month that she was born. It's also my month. Vic, 8 years at the study. Now everybody knows that 8 is the number for new beginnings, and that there were 8 people on the ark. See, everything becomes association and context that we have to put stuff in to keep ourselves positive. Because if we're going to quit, if we're going to quench our understanding that it's time means what? It's time. God says, okay, it's time for you to do this. Jackie said he's always got a purpose. Okay, it's time. And in fact, one of my sayings that, when people say, well, you know what, when my ship comes in, yeah, you know what, your ship may come in. It may be your time, but it might not be your turn. Patience is so important. Your ship may come in. I'm going to repeat it. It might be your time. This is my time, but it might not be your turn. And so that's, again, where all the connections make a difference. Because as we know ourselves, we know where to stay connected so that we can flourish. And guess what? It's a gas. It's something that we cannot control, but God put us there. So maybe this is it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stay here. It means that I have to be here right now. And that I can't, what do you do with quicksand? You cannot get out of quicksand while you're fighting it. You have to relax to get out of quicksand. Man, it's interesting, isn't it? And now what Kevin, 8 is what I just did. Right, because we hear, one person heard the number 8 and one heard the past tense of eat. So again, this is what I'm saying, y'all. This is why don't beat yourself up when you forget something, because all it is that it's not in the relevant cycle of your existence in that moment right now. So 8 is what I just did. I ate lunch, but we all got fed with food for thought. It was 40 and its message. See, so now that becomes a nice line. See, again, this is what it's all about, y'all. This is what it's all about. This is all the fun and the laughs that we can find in life that can help us overcome the nonsense. Because it's all just nonsense sometimes, okay? Also, the infinity symbol. Yes, thank you, Tony. I was wondering if anybody would notice that 8 is the infinity symbol. And what does that mean? What does it mean? It means that it's 2 full circles, and with 2 full circles that connect. In other words, the 2 full circles connect, and then they just keep feeding one another. There's so many things and ways to look at things. We have to take it all in context. And the key is, Vic, can you remember? Can you remember to laugh when you forget? Because that's part of the problem. Sometimes really all it is that we forget that we should laugh when we forget. And so that's the beauty of it all. Okay, let's move on, because we're on a roll. Okay, where was it? Let's see. All right. Okay. So remember, don't complain about a situation that you can control. You see, it's not much difference in personal. That was in business, but it's not much difference in personal relationships. In fact, and this is still back to the 2017 message, nothing's new under the sun. In fact, you have a better chance of getting out early when it's in a personal situation and saving your budget. Okay. And yes, you'll actually be saving your budget if you get out of a relationship early sometimes. It depends. But all jokes aside, it's a tough decision when it's a personal relationship. Yeah, getting out, it's a tougher decision. All right, that's why it's called a personal decision. And I can't equate it to material things like paper and pens, but I can say that it's more closely associated with your self-esteem. See, recognize that people do to you what you allow them to do to you. People do to you what you allow them to do to you. If you keep justifying their behavior, then they'll keep expanding it. Sure, they won't do that thing again. See, when we think about the abusive relationship, well, I won't do that again. No, I won't do that again. I might do something else. See, context. Listen to the words that people are saying and using on you because they will make a difference. Okay, I clicked on something. Let me finish this paragraph before I go. Okay, so don't justify people treating you bad because they're only doing what you allow them to do. And there's such a blessing in giving. See, there's such a blessing in giving someone another chance. But the thing is, you also got to have a limit as to what you will accept. Yeah, oh, well, just want to give them another chance and forgive them. Yeah, but you've got to have a limit as to what you accept. That's why I say you have to recognize that the personal disconnect sometimes it's according to your self-esteem. How you feel about yourself will impact how you let other people make you feel about yourself. So take a breath there and look at some of what we got. As above, so below. I don't know when you wrote that, so that was the thank you, the two circles. Okay, gotcha. Oh, and then what you say, Tony? Laughing is such an acknowledgement not to take things too serious. And we also have to remember there's also what's called nervous laughter, where we are laughing because we take it too seriously. And the laughter is actually fear. Laughing, uncontrollable laughter, that type of thing. So again, put everything in context. Not saying right or wrong as we post here, but I love what y'all post because as I give it another meaning, that gives you another meaning and that gives someone else another meaning. And once we give someone else a new meaning, then we do what? We allow people to be okay. And as we're hearing so many people say, it's okay to not be okay. And it's also okay to be okay. So, it's just a lot going on. This grown-up stuff is a lot, okay? So what's Tony say? Yeah, we have to value ourselves above all else. I was so excited when Simone Biles said, hey, I got to take care of myself. Y'all saw me. I posted it. And then I also posted the first of my 5 fundamental Fs. Always my first F is focus. And I tell every audience that I speak to, put yourself first. People say, oh, no, I got to put my wife, my husband, my kids, your mama. No, you have to put you first. Y'all have heard me say it. You got to take care of your PMS, your personal, your physical, your mental, and your spiritual self. If you don't take care of you physically, how can you help someone who falls? How can you pick them back up? If you don't take care of yourself mentally, how can you help someone make an important life decision about where they want to move forward in their life? If you don't take care of yourself spiritual, how can you go back to Jackie and say always good and have that faith to know that God is always good? So I can say to somebody, look, hang in there. It's going to be okay. Because I have that same spiritual belief. Take care of you first. Focus. FOCUS. Finding ourselves creates unlimited success. You'll see that in the post because you need to look at Simone Biles' interview anyway and get some strength for that. And then I got it posted in there. But yeah, we must value, not just take care, but value ourselves above everybody else. It doesn't move other people out, y'all. See, that's where, again, the context people will confuse us. But putting yourself first does not separate you from people. It brings people closer to you. Because don't you look for someone who seems to have it together? How often do you walk down the street and you see somebody talking to themselves, not on the cell phones like we got these days, but you say, you stare, oh, that person must be crazy. Or especially if you hear them, Muhammad Ali, I'm the greatest. People didn't like that. See, our younger generation met him as Muhammad Ali. Come on, old school, we met him as Cassius Clay, where it was not popular to say, I'm the greatest. It was not popular to tell people that you put yourself first, when everybody's been doing it their whole life. Because even when you take care of somebody, if you put somebody else first, you're still putting yourself first, because you're doing something that you want to do. You've decided, I need to put this person first, and here's what I need to do. That's a whole nother broadcast, and I heard myself going there. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on, because what Roger Carroll say, adulting is the challenge of our lives. Because they say you're a kid once, but you're an adult forever. And I look at that challenge, and y'all know that I say the difference between change and challenge is that there's an there's an LLE in the middle of challenge that completes the spelling of the word change. CHALLENGE. And the LLE, is life's learning lessons. That's what being an adult is all about. How many lessons have you learned to get where you are, and are you keeping them? Because guess what did Solomon say? There's nothing new under the sun. All right. And then I'm going to get one more click on there. And that's what Shirley said. We are our greatest advocate. Not true sometimes. So far, but thank you for saying it, because what we are more apt to say is, I am my greatest enemy. So thank you for putting it at the beginning of the sentence, because that's what we need to be saying. But we tend to say, I'm my biggest enemy. But we have to be our biggest advocate. And it's not an easy thing to do. So P.S., by the way, don't beat yourself up. Very hard to do. All right, so let me go on and close my comments on quitting by encourage. This is still 2017. Close my comments on quitting by encouraging you to again look at your track record, not your lack record, and then give yourself credit for the things, people, at jobs and relationships included, that you've overcome. You've been through and handled a lot of pressure and pressure situations. Again, that was back in 2017. Let me bring us up to 2021. The pandemic has given people all kinds of reasons to change directions. Nothing new under the sun. According to the Labor Department, and in normal times, people quitting jobs in large numbers actually signals a healthy economy with plentiful jobs. But these are not normal times. The pandemic has led to the worst U.S. recession in history, and millions of people are still out of jobs. Included in that number, and in the article that I got from NPR, is the spotlight of a man who, after 26 years in food service, he quit his job as a general manager of a breakfast place in San Diego. Work had gotten too stressful for him. It was marked by scant staffing, and he had constant battles with unmasked customers. He contracted COVID-19 and brought it home to his wife and his father-in-law. So at age 42, he actually got a glimpse of what life could be like if he didn't have to put in 50 to 60 hours a week at the restaurant and miss Thanksgiving and Christmas and the morning with his friends. See, this is what he was going through. We tend to think, oh, it's me. That's why I say, yeah, put yourself first. But see, he in the restaurant business, he was battling with people who didn't want to wear masks. And I'm not talking about there are people who cannot wear masks. My youngest sister, Yeshiva, has allergies, and so she cannot, she can wear the mask, but she cannot get the vaccination right now. The reason I connected that to the mask, because you got people who say, well, I don't have to wear a mask because I'm not vaccinated, because I have been vaccinated. There are people who have faith that, I'm not wearing a mask because I've been vaccinated. They're ones that just never wore the mask. They chose not to, and they had not been vaccinated. So this guy, that's what he found out was going on in his life because of what he did in his career. So like this man is doing, what I want to say to you is that you have to sharpen your skills. Let's get you some answers here. Sharpen your skills. I want you to work on your typing skills. We're on the computer, y'all. Work on your typing skills. And then start to interview for jobs and fields that are new to you. Start thinking about, what can I do with my life now? Based on what? How many hours a week do you want to work? And where do you want to work or work from? See, this is the new way we've got to make our decisions. So, but you got to get the typing skills. Siri will rule the day if you don't get your typing skills together. So, take a typing class, y'all. There's something you could do. Remember, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. The pandemic has allowed for time to think about and reconsider what you really want. And most importantly, help you think whether or not your work has to accommodate your life. And if you need to quit, quench your understanding that it's time. That's what the pandemic has done. God is always working for us. So I'm Sporty King. Thanks for watching, engaging, and remembering. We don't have to hump on Wednesday or any of day of the week as much as we need to keep it together. Ladies and gentlemen, the pandemic is not over. We've got people who've never worn a mask, and we've got people who have not been or unable to be vaccinated. So please, I say, wear your mask. WTH, wear the face mask. Wear the face mask. And so so what you got there, Jackie? Oh man. Okay. Vic's got a traveling trip coming up. All right. Amen. What you got there? A sad story for us all. Yeah, it's a sad story, but again, this is where context comes in. And what we want to say is, it's not sad, it's God's will. Be in the sadness for the moment. Don't let that emotion take charge. Ooh, I'm sad about that. But I got to see what's going to be happening about that. And then we see it. Because what you guys see, Jackie? I have allergies. And was told I had a better outcome. Okay, wait, my thing is not letting me see this. With Moderna as opposed to Pfizer, and I had no side effects. See, so yeah, you have to find out. Then we say PMS, you have to find out what works for you. What works for you. All right. So yeah, that WTH is not mine. But I definitely want to let that last message up there be a laugh out loud. But live our lives, LOL. Live our lives, and recognizing quitting does not make you a loser. All right. It's okay to quit. Remember, you can always book Sporty to share this message with your group. I call it the top line, as we have to recognize that how I feel affects other people. What you do makes a difference. So please keep doing what you do and share this message and repost it and then share it again. Oh, P.S. by the way, you can always please subscribe to my YouTube channel. This won't be, I do put glue on my YouTube channel. If you ever want to watch the stories in sequence, you'll find it there, as well as check out my website. And, I just got a lot of good things going on. So thank y'all all. I'm going to get Daphne up there. I love Glue Wednesday. I was determined to be here, and you made it. So you helped us keep it together. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. All right, y'all. God bless you. And over and out. Ciao. Even if you're on the broad or watching on the video, you can still put comments in there. Okay. Let's make this thing happen. All right. Over and out. Ciao.